Hey friends, welcome back to a new video. It's been a long time since I filmed, since life just kind of got in the way and I needed some time off. But I'm back and I asked you guys on Instagram and on YouTube if you had any questions for me. I wanted to do another Q&A since the last one has been quite some time, and I do from time to time get questions in my videos or on my Instagram DMs. So I thought, why not put it into a video? Maybe it's helpful for some other of you out there. So I did get quite a few minimalism related questions, which I think will be helpful to those of you that are also pursuing minimalism or interested in it like I am. So let's start off with those minimalism questions. So the first one is how you keep yourself on the way of not buying things when you go out or when you saw something cute in shopping applications. So I'm guessing you mean like when you're browsing on shopping apps, how do you stop yourself from impulse purchasing? So this is a very good question. I think everyone deals with impulse purchases. I definitely still do, even though I have been pursuing minimalism for quite some time now. My number one tip is to make it as hard as possible to get triggered. So for example, delete your shopping apps. Make it harder for yourself to access things that might trigger that impulse. But if you do get triggered by whatever you saw, maybe it's advertising out in the city that you kind of don't have control over whether you see or don't see, my tip is to wait before purchasing. So I try to wait as long as possible. For one, overnight, but I feel like overnight is often not enough to detach yourself emotionally, since it is a very emotional response that you feel like you really need this and want this. So wait for at least a few days. I would say even better a week, and you will truly find that after a while you feel like, why did I want that item so bad? I don't really need it, and that impulse or that desire to purchase that item disappears. An example that I have is that I was in this really cute store with a friend of mine and I saw this ring that I thought, oh, is just so beautiful. I could totally imagine myself wearing it, but you can just acknowledge its beauty, put it back, and I guess walk away. I have to say I thought about it for a few days afterwards still, but now it's been about 1 to 2 weeks later, and yes, I still think it's really beautiful, but I don't have that impulse or that desire to buy it anymore, because practically speaking, I know I don't need it, and even if I had it, I don't think I would wear it that much, just because I often, even though I really love rings, I don't wear them since they do kind of, I feel like, get in the way. So distance yourself from the item and take as long as possible. If you feel like after a week you still feel like you want it, then consider it, but try to drag the waiting period out as long as possible to detach yourself emotionally. Next question is best no buy month rules for someone doing it for the first time. Love your content. Thank you so much. I've now done quite a few no buy challenges. I've done it with clothes, then a limited amount of items. I'm now doing it with books. And my number one tip would be to, I guess, make rules. So don't just go out and say, I want to do a no buy or low buy and that's it, but set yourself specific rules. Are there any exceptions? Maybe when it comes to replacing items, and have an accountability partner that you can talk to when you do get into a situation where you feel really tempted to break your no buy or low buy challenge. Who you can talk to, can kind of, in a sense, talk some sense into you, and who can support you. Maybe it's someone that can do this, will do this challenge with you, even better then. And as I said, same as the first tip, is to limit your chances to get triggered emotionally to want to impulse buy. So stay away from stores you know that you will really like, delete some apps, and just don't go out browsing, because then the chance of you getting triggered will just grow exponentially. So for me, I had a period where I lived or moved back in with my parents, and they live on the countryside, and at the same time I was doing a no-buy year, and that was so easy for me to manage because you're in the countryside, there's nothing really there. People are more, I guess, down to earth when it comes to consumer items. At least there weren't any consumer items that would trigger me. So it was so much easier to stick to my no buy challenge. But here in the city, I find it so much harder because people are trendy. There are so many ads. Consumerism is just more present. The things that people are consuming and buying are things that interest me more than a lawnmower in the countryside, if that makes sense. So really limiting your exposure to things that might trigger you to buy stuff. So sometimes it might not even be as obvious as an ad, but for example, a TV show or a movie that has very consumerist messages, those things might also trigger you. And even content that you watch on YouTube or accounts that you follow on social media are all potential sources where you can get triggered. So just be very conscious when it comes to what information you're soaking in. What you can do is you can counter that with minimalist content that kind of pulls you more towards the anti-consumerism. Next question is, what are the things you do splurge on? So that is a very good question, and I would say I tend to splurge on things maybe more than the average person, just because I don't buy as much. So I feel like when I do buy something, I want that item to be of high quality that will last me a long time. I guess especially home items, even something like a electric water boiler, is that what it's called? I would splurge on that if the one that meets all my criteria is more expensive. So for example, when our water boiler broke, we needed a new one, and we had very specific criteria. So it had to be stainless steel on the inside. I didn't want any plastic, I guess you could say, touching the water, and I wanted it to be nice looking, and I had a lot of different criteria because I knew that if I buy this, I want this to be something I enjoy, then I have as long as possible until it breaks and I have to get a new one. I don't want to be replacing things quickly because I get sick of it and want to update it and I want to keep up with the trend. So I'd rather splurge on that and have higher quality and something that really matches what I'm looking for. I guess you could say the things that I splurge the least on are clothes. I buy most of my clothes secondhand, and because it's secondhand, I don't really see the justification of paying a lot for it, but I do try to pay attention to the materials and try not to buy synthetic. But I would say I splurge on most things because I have a certain standard of quality. I want organic and natural fabrics and to be well made to last as long as possible. So I'd rather buy more expensive, more high quality, and buy less when it comes to quantity. How do you stay content with what you have while having more financial freedom? So I'm interpreting this question as how to kind of stay away from the lifestyle inflation, be satisfied with what you already own, and not falling into the trap of lifestyle inflation and upgrading and spending more money because you're earning more money. I did a whole video on this topic, and I kind of was in this position, or I kind of still am in this position, where I now work at a 9-to-5 full-time job, and I do earn more money than I've previously ever earned. And the temptation of lifestyle inflation is definitely there. I wouldn't say I 100% avoided the lifestyle inflation, but I do think that I coped with it quite well. There isn't really anything that I can think of that we upgraded or that I purchased because I feel like I now have more money and I can splurge on things and buy more expensive things. But I would say that I don't feel as held back when it comes to buying things as before. So let me give you an example. Before, if I were out and about, whether in restaurants or supermarkets or shopping for something, I would be super price conscious and really think about the price and whether this item is worth it. And it came to a point where it was kind of tiring to have all this thinking and contemplating going on in my head. And now I'm definitely still very conscious of, okay, do I really need this? But sometimes I do go and I guess splurge on something that is quite expensive. So for example, there is this organic supermarket that we like to go to buy our groceries, and I would be more quickly to, for example, buy a soy yogurt that I don't necessarily need but I do really enjoy for the weekends, or I would buy a kind of expensive organic pesto that I think we would really enjoy on weekends, whereas before I would say, okay, but I don't really need that yogurt. It's a nice to have, but I don't really need it. Or that pesto it's too expensive for what it is. There are cheaper alternatives. So I'm more liberal in that sense. So I guess in that sense, it is a little bit lifestyle inflation, but I am really conscious of lifestyle inflation and I'm careful that it doesn't expand and explode into dimensions that are just not good for me financially. But I definitely didn't avoid it 100%. And I think it's really difficult to avoid it 100%. But I guess to answer your question, again, just try to be really conscious of lifestyle inflation as a thing that many people succumb to. Remind yourself of the value and the principles of minimalism, that you don't define yourself by the items that you own. And just because you own this thing, that doesn't make you more worthy as a person, or if you don't own it, that doesn't make you less worthy. So think of someone in designer clothes versus someone not in designer clothes or in secondhand clothes. One person isn't better than the other or more valuable than the other. It's just an exterior shell, and items don't define you as a person, and all you do is you spend money to kind of put these expensive labels and trophies on you or onto your life to show other people, but maybe that in turn is holding you back from other financial goals that you might have that are more valuable to you. So what are your values? Be really clear on that, and remember that things don't make you happier. They don't better you as a person. They're just external items that kind of inflate our sense of self in a false way. And something that really helped me with my minimalism journey is going through the loss of a loved one. So Johanna's dad passed away really unexpectedly, and we had to kind of go through all his things and sort through all his things. And I realized that we collect so many things in our life just to be thrown away one day. So if I pass one day, all my items are, in a sense, useless and have to be thrown out most of the time. And I don't want my purchasing behavior to be a burden to the environment and to other people that now have to deal with all this stuff. All that things are tools that are supposed to help you in the moment, to make your life a little bit easier in the moment. And I do get sometimes we have to kind of play along with society's games in the sense that you want to look presentable and respectable at your job, but you can still do that with minimalism without succumbing to lifestyle inflation or consumerism. I really hope that answers the question. If not, I will definitely link my lifestyle inflation video here. Nextly, let's get on to the other questions that are more non-minimalism related. So the first one here is an update on your financial situation, or maybe another how much I spend in a month. I'm going to combine this question with what I do as a day job. So for now almost a year, I work at a 9-to-5 office job in marketing, actually social media marketing and influencer marketing. So I do have that very, I guess you could say, classical 9-to-5 job. And maybe I'll do a video, kind of a come along with me in my 9-to-5 job. I don't know if that's something that might interest you. So with this job, I'm definitely financially far more secure than before when I was doing YouTube full time and kind of doing odd jobs here and there. And being, again, very conscious with lifestyle inflation and minimalism, I am able to save I would say 50% of my income. Maybe I can do another video again with update on how much I spend and how much I'm able to save. But minimalism saves me so much money, and not succumbing to lifestyle inflation saves me so much money. As I said, I save about 50% of my income, and that can then go into my investments and saving up for retirement and other financial goals I might have. So financially, I'm doing quite well, at least for my what I need. It might not be as much as other people are earning, but it is definitely enough for the lifestyle that I desire. I even go to ballet 2 times a week, which does cost me about 100 euros, so it is quite expensive, but I can live, in my sense, in my definition, a luxurious lifestyle of buying what I need when it comes to clothes, or having the food that I want or desire in the moment, and doing I would say expensive privileged sport like ballet as often as I want in a week, but still being able to save a lot of my paycheck. So I might do another update video on how much I spend in a week. Next question, have you ever considered moving to another country? What are the pros and cons of your country? Very good question. I currently live in Germany, and I actually grew up in Asia. So I lived in Shanghai and Singapore and Taipei as well. And I really loved that living abroad kind of experience. It was a very privileged experience, I have to say that as well, but it really broadened my horizon. It helped me appreciate other cultures and helped me grow as a person a lot. And I, on one hand, would really love that for my children as well, since it really expanded my horizons and built my character in a lot of ways. But Germany does really have a lot of perks as well. So it's really difficult. On one hand, I'd really love to live abroad, and there are countries within Europe that I really love. So like Italy, but also Spain or Portugal are really nice. A lot of sun, which I really love. But then again, I also would love to be closer to family. So my family does also live in Germany, and our parents get older. I'd also love to have a stronger bond with my brother. So living close to family is also really important to me. And as a vegan, I do have to say Germany is a really good country to live in. There are so many options. There is no other country compared to it, at least from what I know. And education in Germany is more or less for free when it comes to from kindergarten all the way to university. Education is very affordable here, and I think the quality of education is also not bad, I would say. So those are a lot of perks that I'd say are really important to me and to us. So it looks like we will live in Germany, but that is not something that is set in stone. Who knows, maybe we'll do a year abroad. We're definitely open to other things as well, but Germany doesn't have a lot of perks. Another question is, where am I originally from? So I am from Germany. I'm guessing what you're also meaning is what my ethnicity is. So my dad is German and my mom is from Taiwan. So I guess I'm half Asian. And yeah, but originally I'm from Germany, kind of grew up in Asia. Another question is, what cleaning products do you use? I have a video on that. It's pretty old, but it's still completely accurate. It's what I still do today. I pretty much only clean with vinegar. I use it in the kitchen, in the bathroom. The only other additional cleaning product I use is what do you call it, like a toilet cleaner thing for inside the toilet bowl. But other than that, it's all vinegar. It's natural, toxin-free, it's cheaper, and it gets the job done. You do have to be kind of careful though when it comes to grouting in the bathroom, when it comes to tiles. That can sometimes be a little bit too acidic. And with natural stone, you're often not able to use vinegar on natural stone since it will erode it and maybe also stain it, I'm not sure. But you do have to be careful when it comes to that. Other than that, highly, highly recommend vinegar when it comes to cleaning. You can add some essential oil so it doesn't smell as vinegary. I don't mind it. You can just open the windows and let it air out. I've been using that for maybe 5 years now. Highly recommend. What are some of your favorite books? This is a really good question and a really difficult question. So let me bring up my Goodreads app here. I save all my books that I read or plan to read on there. One that I really enjoyed that I read a long time ago now is Little Women. It's just a classic setting of the countryside. What I really enjoy as nonfiction is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle or Eckhart Tolle, and also A New Earth, both books by him. It's more of spiritual books that deals with being present and how to kind of quiet down your mind. And it's something that I'm really interested in and I'm constantly trying to improve myself in. So I really enjoy that book. I would definitely read that more than once. Other than that, I can say genres that I enjoy are coming of age. So things like Catcher in the Rye, I really enjoyed, or Call Me by Your Name, I also really enjoyed. I recently read a coming of age book called Into the Great Wide Open. That was also really good. And then what I also really enjoy are historical fictions. I haven't read a lot of those. I'd really love to read more. I find it just really interesting reading these stories in the context of this historical setting, especially if it's pretty accurate. For example, I really enjoy The Song of Achilles that is set in Greece. Also, the book Pachinko was an amazing historical fiction set in the 20th century in Korea and then later in Japan. Also highly recommend. But I also really enjoy books, for example, from Paulo Coelho, books that kind of get you thinking about more deeper topics. So one that I really enjoyed was Veronica Decides to Die by Paulo Coelho. So far, anything I read by Paulo Coelho, I really enjoyed. Another book I really enjoyed was The Midnight Library. That one also kind of got you thinking about life and choices and meanings, basically about someone in this fictional dream state kind of library where she can pick out different books, and each book represents a version of her life that could have been, and she gets to try out those lives. And that I found really interesting, and that makes me often think about how my life would have turned out if I chose something slightly different in a specific moment. Books by Taylor Jenkins Reid so far I've also really enjoyed. Malibu Rising, love that one. Currently reading Daisy Jones and the Six. Also really enjoy that one. These are just some of the books I've been enjoying and reading. Last but not least, keeping a long-term and healthy relationship. I mean, Johannes and I have been together for about 8 years now, which is pretty long, but it's not that long when it comes to looking at your whole life. I mean, there are people who've been together far, far longer than us. But from my perspective and my standpoint right now, I would say when it comes to looking for a partner for a long-term healthy relationship, it's really important to look for the same values. First of all, you have to really know what are your values, and they have to match with that of your partner, because you will then have often same or similar interests, same things that are really important to you that are a no-go for you, or that is your first priority. So Johannes, I really do have very similar values. And with that, also make sure to have similar life goals and directions. Of course, that may change in the course of someone's life, so you can't really rely on that 100%, which is why the same values are so important. But at least you can't start off having really separate life goals, and you shouldn't really get into a relationship with different life goals in the hopes of changing the other person's mind, because even if you're successful, that might lead to resentment. You don't have the guarantee that they will have the same opinion as you and the same goals as you. What are your financial goals? Do you want kids? Where do you see yourself living in the future? If you want kids, how do you see yourself co-parenting or not? And what are the expectations for the partner? Be really clear when it comes to those things. And so my next tip is also to, I guess this is something that everyone says, but to really almost over communicate on everything. Talk about what are your dreams, what are your aspirations, what are you scared of. Even small things like communicating to your partner that you just don't feel too well these past few days or right now or this week because maybe work has been stressful. And even small things like that helps your partner to realize and appreciate, okay, she's having a tough week because of work, so I can be more compassionate and maybe I have the capacity to be there for my partner, instead of maybe just picking up on the stressful vibes and not knowing, is it because of me, is it because of something else. This bickering is always not good, and storing up resentment is always not good. So whenever there is disagreement or this just feeling unwell and not 100% satisfied, communicate on that. Don't have things getting shoved under your carpet and resentment building over time, because once you've built up a lot of resentment down the line in 10, 20 years, that's so hard to go back and unpack and deal with. So deal with it in the moment. And the other thing is to consciously spend time together. For Johannes and I, we really love spending time together. For me personally, I could spend 24/7 with him. I think he would disagree on that, but we can spend a lot of time together and enjoy that. So when we're on holidays, we're together 24/7 for a week or two, or maybe even longer, and we enjoy that. We don't fight more on holidays. So be really conscious when it comes to spending time together, schedule regular dates, be very intentional with your dates where you're really present with each other, no phones. I would also count watching a movie together not as a date. If that's your only spending time together, that is not quality time. You're not interacting with each other. You're both just passively staring at a screen. So it has to be an activity where you're both involved with each other and are concentrated with each other 100%. Even better if you experience something new together, because that also really bonds you. Something small, even like trying a new restaurant together, that also already counts. So my camera died, but I thought I'd finish this video up quickly since I'm almost done. Be just very intentional with scheduling time together, spending time together, growing together as people, because I think the less time you spend together, the more potential there is to drift into different directions when it comes to growing as a person. You want to grow together and to really view you and your partner as a team. That is something that Johannes and I always say, that we're such a great team together, and that is really important. Something that is good for one person is good for both of you as a team. And try not to have this sense of, well, I did this last time, now it's your turn, but to really view it as completing something as a team, if that makes sense. Like at work, you have teams there too. And of course, you don't want one person to bear all the load. You do have to communicate on that. So that was it for today's Q&A. It was quite a lot, but I hope you enjoyed. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them down below and I'll answer them there. Thank you so much for watching and for spending your time with me. I truly, really appreciate every single one of you. I love chatting with you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.